The courtroom is silent. Too silent. Kody Brown stands frozen at the defendant's table, his hands trembling as the judge reads out charges that could destroy everything he ever built. The air feels heavy, thick with secrets nobody is ready to face. The courtroom feels colder than it should. Not the kind of cold you feel on your skin. It's the kind that settles deep inside your chest. The kind that makes people sit a little straighter, breathe a little slower, and wonder if they truly know the person sitting across from them. Today, that person is Kody Brown. He stands at the defendant's table, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, his golden curls slightly disheveled, like he spent the morning fighting with them instead of preparing for the most important day of his life. Everyone is staring at him, but Kody pretends not to notice. His hands tap restlessly on the table, the rhythm uneven, like the beat of an anxious heart trying to escape the ribs surrounding it. His eyes flick from the judge to the gallery, then back to the papers in front of him. But it's clear he's not reading anything. There's too much at stake. Too many years of secrets pressing in on him all at once. Across the room, Robyn clutches a tissue so tightly it's starting to tear. Her eyes are already swollen from crying earlier, and every breath she takes sounds like she's trying not to collapse in front of the cameras. She's whispering something under her breath. A prayer, maybe, or a plea. But nobody can hear her. Not that it matters. The story unfolding today is bigger than whispered words. The judge clears his throat, and the sound echoes through the courtroom like someone dropped a stone in an empty well. Even the reporters stop typing. Even the cameras settle. It's the kind of silence people remember. The moment before a life splits in two. Before everything that used to make sense suddenly stops making sense at all. Christine sits in the front row, back straight, hands folded in her lap, but her fingers tremble. She keeps her eyes locked on Kody, and for the first time in years, she isn't looking away. There's no hesitation, no fear, just a deep, simmering ache that's been building for far too long. She mouths something. Maybe a silent curse, maybe a memory, and Kody seems to flinch, even though she never raised her voice. Janelle sits beside her, arms crossed, her posture firm like she's holding herself together out of pure willpower. Anyone who looks her way would know instantly she's not here for reconciliation. She's not here to stand behind Kody. She's here for truth. And she's prepared to let it hurt. And then there's Meri, seated farther back, almost hiding behind the row of cameras. Her expression is unreadable, a mask she's worn for so many years that even she's forgotten what it originally covered. But her eyes give her away. They blink too quickly, dart too often, as if scanning the courtroom for exits she'll never take. Under the table, her hands twist nervously around her purse strap, and she keeps swallowing hard like she's trying to push down 1,000 unsaid words. The bailiff steps forward with a sealed folder, thick, heavy, stamped in red. All eyes snap toward it, and even Kody straightens. He knows what's inside. They all do. But nobody knows exactly what's about to come out of it. Whatever's in that folder has the power to change everything. And everyone in this room feels it vibrating in the air. Robyn suddenly reaches forward as if she wants to grab the folder, or stop it from opening, or beg someone, anyone to reconsider. But she stops herself, freezing mid-movement. Her hand drops back into her lap, trembling. A single tear rolls down her cheek. She wipes it quickly, but too late. The camera in front of her catches it, zooming in, capturing every ounce of fear. Christine watches her with a look that isn't cruel, but it isn't sympathetic either. It's something else, something raw and exhausted. Something that whispers, "You caused this. You helped build it. Now you're going to watch it crumble." She doesn't say it out loud, but her eyes say enough. The judge asks Kody to rise. The scrape of his chair sounds sharp, almost metallic, as it drags against the floor. He hesitates for a split second before pushing himself up, chest heaving. The courtroom lights reflect off his face, highlighting deep lines he didn't used to have. Lines etched by stress, regret, anger, and choices he never expected would lead him here. As he stands, the gallery leans forward. Reporters hover fingers above keyboards, ready to capture every breath. The judge begins to read the primary allegations. The words float through the courtroom like slow-moving smoke. Accusations of emotional manipulation, financial deception, broken promises, and the kind of family damage that leaves scars invisible but permanent. Every sentence hits like a hammer. Robyn starts crying harder, shoulders shaking. She grips the edge of the table like she's trying not to drown in the very story she once helped write. Kody, meanwhile, stares at the judge with a mixture of disbelief and silent fury, his lips pressed into a thin line. He whispers, "This isn't how it happened," under his breath, but the microphone picks it up. The words echo across the speakers, drawing gasps from the spectators. He looks around, suddenly aware that everyone heard him, and his face reddens with embarrassment and anger. Christine lets out a soft, humorless laugh, the kind that comes from years of hurting. "Oh, it happened," she mutters, not loudly, but loud enough for him to hear. Kody snaps his head toward her, eyes burning with frustration, but Christine doesn't blink. She doesn't look away. In this courtroom, she isn't afraid of him anymore. The judge continues, listing events from over a decade of fractured family life. Moments the audience of sister wives saw only pieces of, and moments the cameras weren't allowed to show. Moments that the wives once protected, excused, or ignored, but that are now laid bare for the court to dissect. Then the judge pauses. He looks at the sealed folder still in the bailiff's hands. "Kody," the judge says slowly, "the next piece of evidence presented to this court may alter the direction of these proceedings significantly." Kody's face goes pale. Not white, pale. Robyn gasps. Christine tenses. Janelle uncrosses her arms, leaning forward like she's finally about to hear something she's waited years for. And Meri's hand flies to her mouth. The bailiff walks toward the center of the courtroom, each step echoing like footsteps in a haunted hallway. The sound seems louder than it should be, as if amplified by the tension choking the air. He hands the folder to the judge, who carefully breaks the seal. Inside is a stack of documents, photographs, and handwritten statements, things gathered from places and people the Browns never expected would speak up. The judge flips through the pages, lips tightening with every line he reads. Before he can speak, a voice from the back of the courtroom slices through the silence like a razor. "You lied, Kody, and today, everyone will know." The room erupts instantly. Reporters jump up. Cameras swing around. The bailiff rushes toward the back rows. Christine's head snaps toward the voice, eyes wide. Janelle rises halfway from her seat, stunned. Robyn gasps loudly, pressing a hand to her chest as if she might faint. And Kody, for just a moment, looks terrified. Not angry, not annoyed, terrified. He knows that voice. Everyone does. Every head in the courtroom turns, and the chaos builds in waves. People whisper, people gasp, people strain to see the figure standing in the doorway, the person who just detonated the room with one sentence. And in the middle of that chaos, the judge slams his gavel and shouts for order. But it's too late. The truth is already unraveling, and the first thread has just snapped loose. The moment the voice echoes through the courtroom, something electric rips through the air. It's the kind of sound that freezes people mid-breath, a sound filled with history, betrayal, and a truth too sharp to ignore. The bailiff shouts for silence, but nobody listens. Cameras swivel frantically. Reporters elbow one another, desperate to capture the moment. Even the judge looks shaken, fingers tightening around the edge of his bench. And then the figure steps forward. At first, it's just a silhouette, backlit by the harsh hallway lights, shoulders stiff, chin lifted like someone marching into battle. The room falls dangerously quiet as the person takes another step into the courtroom, and suddenly the entire Brown family knows exactly who it is. It's Gabe, not the boy viewers. Remember, not the young man who laughed easily and hid pain behind stubborn pride. This Gabe is older, harder, carrying something heavy behind his eyes, something he's been dragging for far too long. His jaw is tight, his fists balled at his sides, and his voice shakes not with fear, but with rage, teetering on the edge of collapse. Kody's face drains of color. "No," he whispers, almost too soft to hear. "Not you. Not today." But Gabe doesn't stop. He walks straight down the aisle, every footstep hitting like a drumbeat. He doesn't look left or right, not at the cameras flashing, not at the strangers whispering, not even at his siblings who stare with wide, worried eyes. He only looks at his father, and the look is enough to silence an entire room. Janelle rises from her seat, breath caught in her throat. She reaches a hand toward him, whispering his name, like she's afraid he might shatter if she speaks too loudly. But Gabe doesn't acknowledge her. His eyes are locked on Kody, sharp as broken glass. Robyn turns in her seat, already crying again, her voice trembling. "Gabe, please. Don't do this. Not like this." Her words only seem to fuel him. He stops just a few feet from the defendant's table, his voice low but steady as he says, "Dad, you told the court you always put the family first. That you protected us. That you did everything you could." He shakes his head, a bitter laugh slipping out like he can't believe Kody still dares to pretend. "Today, I'm here to tell them the truth you spent years hiding." Kody's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. His hands grip the table like he needs it to stay standing. Christine leans forward, eyes burning, as if she's been waiting for this day longer than anyone else. Janelle's lips quiver with fear, torn between pride for her son and dread for what's coming. Even Meri listens with her breath held still, fingers white-knuckled around her purse strap. The judge clears his throat, trying to regain control. "Sir, if you wish to speak, you must be sworn in. This court cannot accept—" "I'm not leaving," Gabe interrupts. His voice doesn't rise, but the firmness behind it could cut stone. "I'm speaking today. You're finally going to hear my side." The entire courtroom gasps. Kody begins shaking his head frantically. "Gabe, stop. This isn't the place? You don't understand what's happening here?" "No," Gabe snaps. "I understand perfectly. You're trying to rewrite what happened, and I'm done letting you control the narrative." His eyes narrow. "You always said we were a family, but you stopped acting like a father a long time ago." Kody flinches like the words struck him physically. Janelle's eyes fill with tears. She whispers, "Please, honey, please be careful." But her voice barely makes it past her lips. The judge sighs, defeated. "Bailiff, swear him in." Robyn slumps forward, covering her face with both hands as Gabe steps to the witness box. The bailiff holds out the Bible, but Gabe shakes his head. "I'll affirm," he says. "I don't need a book to tell the truth." And when he sits down, the courtroom leans forward as one. He takes a deep breath, the kind that seems to pull years of pain up from a place he's kept buried, and begins. "It started during the pandemic," he says quietly. "That was the moment he stopped being my dad." Kody's breath catches. "Don't do this," he whispers, but Gabe ignores him completely. "You locked me out," Gabe continues, voice trembling now. "You decided who mattered and who didn't. You punished me just for wanting to live my life. And when I tried to talk to you, you chose her." He points at Robyn without looking at her. "Every single time." Kody slams a hand on the table. "That's not true. I tried to protect—" "Protect who?" Gabe fires back. "You didn't protect me. You didn't protect Garrison. You didn't protect any of us." Robyn sobs louder, shaking her head. "Kody did everything he could. You boys pushed him away." Gabe's voice breaks. Not in anger this time, but in grief. "We pushed him away because he stopped loving us unless we did everything he wanted." Christine's eyes fill instantly. Janelle covers her mouth with trembling fingers. Meri silently wipes a tear she didn't intend to shed. Kody looks like he's been stabbed. "That's not... Gabe, that's not fair." "You're right," Gabe whispers. "It's not fair. Nothing about this was fair." His voice gets softer, and the courtroom leans in, the tension becoming suffocating. "That folder," he says, nodding toward the sealed evidence. "You want to know what's inside it? It's everything the world didn't see. Everything Dad said behind closed doors. The words he used, the threats he made, the divide he created between us." He pauses, eyes filling, and the pain it caused Garrison. The room goes still. Robyn freezes mid-sob. Kody's face collapses. Even the judge looks shaken. Gabe's next words come out barely above a whisper. You're not on trial for paperwork or money or failed relationships. You're on trial because you broke your own children. Kody's chest rises and falls rapidly, and for a moment he looks like he might be sick. His eyes redden. His hands shake uncontrollably. He opens his mouth, closes it, tries again, but no explanation comes out. It wasn't just distance, Gabe continues. It wasn't just rules. It was what you said to us. The way you blamed us for everything going wrong in your marriage. The way you told us we weren't loyal enough, obedient enough, that we weren't family, unless we chose Robyn over everyone else. Robyn gasps, shaking her head violently. That's not fair. Kody never... But Gabe cuts her off. Dad said it, more than once, sometimes yelling, sometimes calm. And every time he said it, a piece of us broke. The judge finally raises a hand. Mr. Brown, can you specify what part of this testimony relates directly to the court's allegations? Gabe nods, swallowing hard. Yes, Your Honor, because it wasn't just emotional damage. It wasn't just favoritism. It wasn't just neglect. It was manipulation. Deep, dangerous manipulation that changed our family forever. He exhales shakily. And it all leads to the night everything finally fell apart. The courtroom breaks into murmurs. Kody grips the table, eyes wide with sudden panic. Robyn's face twists like she already knows what he's about to say. Janelle stands now, trembling. Gabe, she whispers, please. But her son can't stop now. He's come too far. The truth is burning its way out of him. Gabe's voice softens, darkens, and carries a weight that presses on every chest in the courtroom. That night, he says, Dad said something to Garrison he never should have said. Something that pushed us past the point of no return. Something that still echoes in my head. Kody's voice cracks. Stop. Please. Not here. Not like this. But Gabe looks him dead in the eyes. You told him you didn't recognize him as your son anymore. The room gasps so loudly it echoes. Some people cover their mouths. Others whisper, "Oh my God." A camera drops to the floor with a loud clatter. Kody stumbles back into his chair, face crumpling in horror. Robyn cries out, shaking uncontrollably. Christine covers her chest, breathing sharp and uneven. Janelle collapses into her seat, hands over her face, and sobbing silently. And Gabe continues, gently now, devastatingly. He didn't forgive you for that, and he never got the chance to. Kody's eyes fill instantly. No, that's not... Gabe, I didn't mean... But his voice breaks apart like glass. Gabe leans forward, every word trembling with grief. You may not have meant it, but you said it, and it changed everything. And then, the courtroom doors swing open again. Everyone turns. And standing in the doorway is someone nobody expected. Someone who shouldn't be here. The courtroom freezes again, not in confusion this time, but in a stunned, breathless anticipation that sweeps across the room like a sudden wind. Even the air feels different as the figure in the doorway steps into the light, holding a folder so thick it looks like it's been filled for years. It's Logan, the oldest Brown child, the one who moved away quietly, the one who refused to be dragged back into family fights, the one people always assumed was neutral. He is not neutral today. Logan walks slowly, shoulders stiff, face unreadable, a calm mask stretched tightly over something dark and heavy. And though the room erupts into whispers, Logan doesn't react. He moves like a man carrying a burden no one else has seen, a burden he no longer intends to keep. Kody's breath catches audibly. Logan, what are you doing here? His voice cracks on the last word. Logan doesn't answer. He doesn't even look at him. Instead, he hands the folder to the judge with a steady, controlled motion. Too controlled, like he's fighting the tremor in his own hands. The judge flips open the cover, and his eyes widen so drastically that even the court reporter looks up from her transcript. Mr. Brown, the judge says slowly, where did you obtain these? Logan finally speaks, his voice eerily calm. From the only place Dad didn't think to look. Kody's face twists, confusion mixed with fear, panic, and something else he hasn't felt in years. Powerlessness. Logan, please. But Logan lifts a hand, silencing him with a single small gesture. No, Dad. You've talked enough. For years. Robyn turns around in her seat, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Logan, what's in there? Please. Tell the judge, it's not what it looks like. But Logan still won't look at her. Your Honor? He says instead, inside that folder is a timeline. A detailed one, messages, notes, financial records, voice memos, things Dad kept, things he said, things he deleted, everything he didn't think anyone else saw. Gasps ripple across the courtroom. Kody slams his hand on the table. That's private family material. You had no right. Logan cuts him off with a tone he's never used before. No right? You crossed every line long before I ever did. You destroyed trust? You destroyed family? I'm just cleaning up the mess you left behind. Janelle is already crying again, not from pain this time, but from a conflicted mix of pride and heartbreak. Christine watches with wide, wounded eyes, her hands pressed against her mouth. Meri stares blankly, like her brain hasn't caught up to reality. And then the judge asks the question everyone is terrified to hear. Mr. Brown, does this information pertain to the allegations presented today? Logan nods once. Yes, every single one. Kody looks like he's been punched in the stomach. He leans back in his chair, shaking his head slowly, whispering, no, 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 as if denial could undo what's already happening. The judge turns to the bailiff. Enter these into evidence, immediately. The bailiff takes the folder and walks it to the evidence table, the sound of each step amplifying the tension until it becomes suffocating. When Logan finally turns toward the witness stand, Gabe watches him with a mix of shock and awe. Two brothers, united in the very moment their father falls apart. Logan sits beside him, nodding in silent acknowledgement. It's time, he says quietly. Gabe whispers back, yeah, it is. The judge gestures for Logan to begin. State your name. Logan Taylor Brown. And your relationship to the defendant? He's my father. He says the word father with such detachment that half the courtroom feels a shiver crawl up their spine. The judge asks him to explain what he brought. Logan clears his throat. I'm here because I tried to stay out of this. I really did. I built a life away from the cameras, away from the chaos, away from the pressure of being the oldest kid in a family that was always breaking apart. But I watched from far away. I saw the patterns. I heard the things Dad said about us, the things he said about Mom Janelle, about Christine, about Meri. And then, after Garrison died, he stops. The courtroom holds its breath. Logan blinks hard, jaw flexing. His voice trembles for the first time. After that happened, I realized silence makes me guilty too. Kody's face contorts painfully. Logan, please. But Logan continues, eyes locked on the judge. These documents show how Dad manipulated the narrative, how he played us against each other, the things he promised Robyn that he didn't tell the rest of us, the money he moved, the phone calls he recorded, the rules he made, rules only some of us had to follow. Robyn's breathing quickens. Her fingers dig into the edge of the table as she shakes her head, crying harder. Christine closes her eyes tightly, as if every word is reopening a wound she buried long ago. Janelle looks like she's about to collapse again. Even Meri seems to shrink in her seat, realizing some of those recorded conversations almost certainly involve her. The judge asks Logan to specify the most important piece of evidence. Logan reaches into his pocket, pulling out a small USB drive. The metallic click as he places it on the table echoes like a gunshot in the silence. This, he says quietly, is the recording from the night Dad told us what he really thought about the rest of the family. The room erupts. Reporters stand. Cameras zoom. People whisper violently. Even the judge looks thrown. Kody launches to his feet. No, that recording is taken out of context. It was emotional. Emotional? Logan asks, finally looking directly at him. Dad, you said you were relieved some of the family was distancing themselves. You said it made things easier for you. You said losing contact with us would simplify everything. He pauses, voice hardening. And then, you said Garrison was the one who caused most of your stress. Robyn gasps like she's been stabbed. Kody's entire body deflates. I didn't mean, Logan, that was a moment of weakness. It was a moment of truth, Logan responds sharply. The judge gestures. Play the recording. A technician steps forward, plugging the USB into a court laptop. The speakers crackle before the audio begins. For a moment, all that can be heard is shuffling, footsteps, the creaking of Kody's leather chair, a sigh that sounds heavy and exhausted. Then Kody's voice, unmistakable, emotional, raw, fills the room. I can't keep doing this. Every time I talk to Gabe or Garrison, it's a fight. Every time I try to set a rule, they push back. I'm tired. I'm tired of being the villain. I'm tired of trying to force them to follow standards they refuse to accept. Part of me feels relieved they're pulling away. It simplifies everything. Gabe closes his eyes in pain. The audio continues. I know it sounds harsh, but they're adults now. If they don't want to be in the family, maybe it's better that way. The room shifts again, tension drowning out air, but the next part is worse. Much worse. Honestly, Garrison has been the source of most of the stress in the family. He's angry all the time, and he blames me for everything. I'm done trying to make peace with someone who doesn't want peace. The audio ends. The room is dead silent. Not a breath. Not a whisper. Even the cameras seem frozen. Kody's eyes fill with tears. Not anger this time, but guilt he can't hide. Robyn is sobbing so hard she can barely breathe. Christine wipes her eyes, unable to stop shaking. Janelle is staring at the floor, motionless, like she's been hollowed out from the inside. The judge exhales slowly. Mr. Brown, this audio is deeply concerning. Kody opens his mouth, but no words come. Logan stands. There's more, he says, and it's worse. The courtroom gasps loudly. Logan reaches into his jacket again. He pulls out something small, something folded, something fragile, a letter, handwritten. And the moment Kody sees it, he collapses back into his seat. Gabe whispers, voice breaking, Logan, is that... Logan nods. It's Garrison's. Robyn lets out a choking sob. Christine cries silently, her whole body trembling. Janelle's hand flies to her heart. Kody folds forward, covering his face completely, shoulders shaking in a way that looks like pure despair. The judge's voice softens. Mr. Brown, will you read the letter? Logan's eyes glisten. He unfolds the paper slowly. But before he can read, the doors slam open. Everyone turns. A woman steps inside, face pale, eyes red, clutching a document with both hands like it's the only thing keeping her upright. It's Aurora, Robyn's daughter. Her voice cracks as she says, I have something to say, and it's about my mom. And the courtroom explodes into chaos. The moment Chapter 4 begins, the walls of the courtroom feel like they're closing in. The tension is different now, thicker, closer, more suffocating. Every whisper from the gallery sounds like thunder. Every breath feels stolen. Even the judge looks unsettled by the storm brewing in front of him. This isn't just testimony anymore. This is war disguised as justice. Janelle sits upright, both hands locked together like she's afraid they'll start shaking again. Her knuckles are white, her jaw tight. Ever since her outburst, the courtroom can't stop looking at her. Cameras shift toward her. Reporters lean forward. Even Kody, who's been trying to act calm, keeps glancing at her like he's terrified of what she's about to reveal next. But Janelle isn't speaking. Not yet. She's staring directly at Kody with eyes that burn hotter than humiliation. This time, they're filled with truth she's kept buried for years. And Kody knows it. He shifts in his seat, his shoulders stiff, his voice cracking as he clears his throat. Robyn presses herself closer to him, whispering something that sounds like, don't say anything stupid. But he pulls away from her, his eyes darting around like a man cornered by his own shadow. The judge looks down at the file still lying open on the bench. The sealed evidence that shook the courtroom minutes ago. Nobody knows exactly what's inside. Not yet. And that uncertainty hangs in the air like smoke after a wildfire. Mr. Brown, the judge finally says, breaking the silence that felt like an eternity. You're being offered the chance to explain before we move forward with the next testimony. Are you prepared to do that? Kody swallows hard. He forces a smile. Weak, unsteady, the kind he uses when he thinks charm will save him. Your Honor, he begins, his voice cracking with breath he can barely control. There's been a misunderstanding. A terrible misunderstanding. But nobody in the room believes him. Not Christine, not Meri, not Janelle, and not the audience watching through courtroom live streams across the world. I never meant for any of this to happen, he continues. My family, my wives. Everything I've done was for them. Christine actually laughs under her breath. A sharp, bitter, humorless sound. Oh, really? She mutters. Loud enough for microphones to pick it up. Everything was for us? That's what you're going with now? Tension explodes like glass shattering. Cameras swing toward her. Kody's face tightens and he snaps his head in her direction. Christine, don't do this. Don't do what? Tell the truth? She fires back. The judge bangs his gavel once. Lightly, more of a warning than a punishment. But it's enough to force a brief pause. A shaky, fragile quiet settles for a heartbeat, just long enough for everyone to notice that Robyn has started quietly sobbing again. But this time, it doesn't feel like fear. It feels like guilt. Stay with me, because the real heart of this story is about to unfold. The prosecution stands, clearing his throat in a way that commands immediate attention. Your Honor, the next testimony is crucial. We would like to bring forward a witness who was directly affected by the defendant's actions, emotionally, financially, and physically. Kody stiffens. Robyn's sobs catch in her throat. Christine and Janelle exchange looks. Even Meri, who's been quietly simmering with emotion, straightens in her chair. The witness being called isn't a surprise, but the moment feels heavier than expected. The bailiff opens the courtroom door, and in walks Aspen, Christine's daughter, one of the kids who stayed silent for years, watching their family fall apart while adults drowned each other in lies, favoritism, and emotional manipulation. Aspen walks with slow, controlled breaths. Her hands tremble slightly as she adjusts the hem of her shirt, but her spine remains straight, her steps firm. She isn't here as a child. She's here as a witness. Christine's breath hitches. Janelle presses a hand to her chest. Even the gallery leans forward. Aspen sits, the microphone adjusted to her height. Her voice is soft at first, gentle, careful, like she's afraid one wrong word could break her mother all over again. But as she speaks, her tone deepens. Growing up, she says, I thought my family was different. In a beautiful way. I thought love was supposed to be shared. But as I got older, I realized something else. Love in our home wasn't shared. It was controlled. Kody visibly flinches. Aspen continues, her voice steadying more with every sentence. One person controlled the emotional temperature of the entire family, and most of the time, that person was Dad. Cameras capture every micro-expression on Kody's face. Fear, anger, desperation, and a hint of the same manipulation he used on TV for years. Robyn interjects, Aspen, sweetie, that's not fair. Aspen turns her head slowly, her eyes cold. Don't call me sweetie. I'm not a child anymore, Robyn. The gallery gasps. Robyn sinks back, stunned. Aspen turns back to the judge. Your Honor, I want to make something clear. The reason things became dangerous wasn't because we were plural. It was because Dad wanted control of every choice, every dollar, every relationship, every moment. Kody opens his mouth, perhaps to deny it, perhaps to spin the narrative, but the judge gestures for him to remain silent. Aspen looks down for a moment, and her voice cracks slightly as she continues. I watched my mother cry herself to sleep for years. I watched Janelle try to hold the family together while Dad ignored her. I watched Meri disappear inside herself until she felt like a ghost. Meri wipes tears quietly. And I watched Robyn become the center of Dad's world while the rest of us stopped mattering. Robyn gasps. That's not... But Aspen cuts her off gently but firmly. It is. And what I'm about to tell you next changes everything. Kody's hands grip the table so hard his knuckles look bruised. Aspen's lips tremble. She takes a deep breath. 2 years before everything fell apart, Dad held a meeting with the adults. He said, if anyone wanted to leave, they should. But if they did, he'd make sure their kids would learn the truth about who abandoned the family. Everyone in the courtroom freezes. Christine covers her mouth. Janelle looks away, tears sliding silently. Meri shakes her head as though she's reliving it. The judge leans forward. Miss Brown, are you saying your father threatened emotional retaliation against the mothers? Yes, Aspen says, voice shaking but resolute. He told them he would make sure the kids blame them. Reporters begin typing like their fingers are on fire. The gallery stirs with outrage. Kody's face drains of blood. But Aspen isn't finished. He didn't want a family. He wanted ownership. Christine whispers, voice cracking, baby, you never should have carried that alone. Aspen glances at her mother, eyes softening. I know, Mom. That's why I'm here. Robyn suddenly stands up, slamming her hands onto the table. This is ridiculous. She's twisting things. She's making him look like a monster. The judge scolds her, but she barely hears it. Her mascara is running again, but something else is behind it. Anger. Maybe fear. Aspen shakes her head. I'm not twisting anything. I'm telling the truth. And you know it, Robyn. Robyn freezes mid-breath. A moment of silence. A moment where everyone can see the cracks in her composure. A moment where the truth, the dangerous, forbidden truth, sits between them. Aspen looks back at the judge. There's something else, she whispers. Something that's in that sealed file. The courtroom goes still. Something that proves everything I'm saying. Kody panics. His voice shoots up higher than before. Your Honor, please, don't allow this. But the judge holds up a hand. Let the witness finish. Aspen's eyes meet his. Inside that file is evidence of financial decisions Dad hid from the rest of the family. Decisions that hurt us. Decisions that cost us. She lowers her gaze. And proof that he wasn't protecting us. He was protecting himself. Robyn collapses into her chair, breath trembling. Christine squeezes her daughter's hand. Janelle wipes her face again. The judge takes a deep breath. This changes the direction of our proceedings. Aspen nods. Yes, Your Honor. And I haven't even told you the worst part yet. Stay with me. Because what comes next is the moment everything finally breaks. She adjusts the microphone, inhales deeply, and looks straight at Kody. And when she speaks, her voice carries the weight of every wound the family ever suffered. Dad, tell them what you told me the night I asked why Mom was crying. Kody freezes. His eyes widen. His mouth opens, and nothing comes out. The entire courtroom leans forward. Aspen whispers, You said, your mom cries because she's weak. And one day, you'll understand why they all need me more than I need them. Christine bursts into tears. Janelle turns away, disgusted. Meri closes her eyes like she's been stabbed. Kody slams his hand on the table. That's a lie. But it's too late. Everyone knows it. The courtroom erupts. And before the judge can calm the room, Aspen adds one last sentence. Dad didn't just break the family. He manipulated us into believing we couldn't survive without him. And that, she says softly, is why we're here today. The judge finally bangs his gavel over the noise. Kody is shaking. Robyn is shaking. The courtroom is falling apart, and the next witness has already been called. The room is heavy with the echoes of Aspen's words. Even the air feels charged, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. Kody leans back in his chair, staring at nothing, jaw tight, eyes wide, and unblinking. For the first time, the man who has always tried to control the narrative is silenced. forced to sit and face the consequences of his actions. Janelle rises slowly from her seat, brushing invisible dust from her skirt as if preparing for battle. Her hands are shaking slightly, but her spine is straight and her eyes are sharp. She glances at the judge, who nods for her to approach the witness stand. Everyone in the courtroom leans in collectively. They know Janelle's testimony will slice deeper than anything spoken so far. Her voice is steady, but there's a tremor beneath it, one that speaks of years of suppressed grief and frustration. I have stayed silent for too long, she begins, glancing briefly at Kody. Too long, while my children watch the adults in this room fight and manipulate each other. Too long, while our family's foundation was cracked and splintering beneath our feet. I cannot stay silent anymore. Robyn fidgets, her face pale, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Christine watches with an unreadable expression, a mix of relief and anxiety, while Meri bites her lower lip, fingers twisting nervously in her lap. Kody's hands clench on the table. Every muscle in his body is taut with tension. She turns slowly to face the gallery, her gaze sweeping over every reporter, every camera, every family member. Your Honor, she says, voice now firmer. This isn't just about financial deception or favoritism. It's about how a father, a husband, manipulated love itself. How he created rules that divided us, controlled us, and in some cases, made us fear showing loyalty to each other. Kody shifts uncomfortably in his seat, swallowing hard. You're twisting this, he begins, but the judge's sharp hand halts him. Mr. Brown, sit down. The judge commands, eyes fixed on him. Let your wife finish. Janelle inhales deeply and continues. There were nights my children cried themselves to sleep while their father dismissed their feelings. Nights where Robyn's presence was prioritized above all else. Not because she deserved it, but because Dad allowed it. And every time I tried to speak, to protect my kids, I was silenced, told to wait, told to obey, told it was for the greater good. A low murmur passes through the gallery. Robyn's face twists with both shock and guilt. Christine shifts uncomfortably, her hands pressed tightly together while Meri closes her eyes, quietly shaking her head. Kody leans forward, fists clenched, lips pressed tightly together, trying to speak but failing. Then there were the promises. Janelle continues, her voice now sharp and cutting. Promises of fairness, promises of equality, promises that never existed. You can't tell a child they're loved equally if your actions scream the opposite. And Dad, he failed us in ways he cannot even begin to comprehend. Her gaze shifts toward her children, sitting quietly in the gallery. I watched my kids learn to tiptoe around a father who should have been their protector. I watched their confidence erode, their voices quieted, their loyalties tested constantly. And when I tried to advocate for them, to shield them from emotional manipulation, I was dismissed, told my concerns were unnecessary. Kody's head is shaking rapidly now, sweat starting to bead on his forehead. Robyn bursts into tears again, sobbing softly, hand over her mouth. Christine's breathing comes in short, uneven gasps. Even the judge's calm demeanor falters slightly, the weight of the testimony pressing on him. And worst of all, Janelle says, lowering her voice so that every word strikes like a hammer, I watched Garrison, my son, my youngest, struggle under a father's shadow that should have been nurturing, but instead became oppressive. The emotional strain, the despair, the helplessness, all because Dad could not reconcile his own desires with the responsibilities he swore to uphold. Gabe clenches his fists in his lap, jaw tight. Logan leans slightly forward, eyebrows furrowed, fists gripping the edge of the railing. The weight of her words hangs in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Kody opens his mouth again, his voice quivering. That's not fair. I tried. Janelle cuts him off, a fire burning in her eyes. You tried? You manipulated. You dictated. You controlled. You used love as a weapon. And now? You're standing in front of your children while we tell the truth you refuse to acknowledge. The judge interjects, voice calm but firm. Mrs. Brown, can you provide specific examples of these actions? Janelle exhales slowly, the memory of years of frustration and betrayal surfacing. Yes, there were financial decisions made in secret, accounts withheld, assets moved without consulting the family. There were personal favors promised to Robyn. Repeatedly, that excluded the rest of us. And emotionally, I was made to feel small, my voice insignificant. My children, all of us, were made to feel like we weren't enough. Robyn gasps, clutching her hands to her chest. That's not true. I never... Aspen, sitting nearby, shakes her head slowly. Yes, it is. Every word. I lived it. Every single word. Christine swallows hard, nodding faintly, while Meri's head droops in quiet acknowledgement. Kody's entire body trembles now. He's pale, sweating, desperate. He whispers, "This isn't happening." Over and over again. Janelle's eyes soften slightly. A fleeting moment of vulnerability, but her words remain steady. I tried to protect this family. I tried to guide them, to shield them from harm, but my efforts were dismissed. And now we are here. Because it took years for the truth to surface. She pauses, glancing at her children again, then at the gallery. And that's what this court needs to understand. This is bigger than a single dispute. This is about the long-term consequences of neglect, favoritism, and manipulation within a family that should have been protected. The gallery is silent. The judge adjusts his glasses, staring at her notes. Kody Brown, you have heard Mrs. Brown's testimony. How do you respond? Kody stands slowly, his legs shaky. His hands tremble as he grips the table. I never meant to hurt anyone. I did what I thought was best. Janelle shakes her head, the fire returning. What you thought was best destroyed trust, divided us, and left scars that may never heal. Intentions do not erase actions, Kody. Gabe stands now, anger flashing in his eyes. Dad, you made choices, and now we're living with them. You can't apologize your way out of this anymore. The courtroom murmurs again. Cameras capture every moment. Kody's face is a mix of shame, fear, and something else. A dawning realization that the control he once wielded is gone. And then, as if the storm wasn't already raging, the bailiff opens the door once more. The entire courtroom freezes. A hush falls over the room. Every pair of eyes turns toward the doorway. Christine leans forward, mouth slightly open. Janelle's hands tighten into fists. Robyn's hands clench nervously in her lap. Even Kody's trembling slows as he watches whoever, or whatever, is about to step inside. It's Meri. Not the quiet, retreating Meri who has mostly stayed in the background. This is Meri standing tall, composed, but with an intensity in her eyes that makes the room almost tremble. She's holding something. A folder, a single sheet of paper, something that instantly demands attention. Meri steps toward the front, the floor echoing beneath her footsteps. Every whisper dies as she approaches. And then she stops, turns toward the judge, and says, with a calm but lethal voice, "This is the final piece. The truth that no one wants to admit, but the truth that must be heard." The gallery leans forward. Cameras zoom. Kody's face drains of all remaining color. Robyn's eyes widen. Christine blinks rapidly. Janelle grips her chair like it's the only anchor she has in a world spinning out of control. Meri lifts the paper. It trembles slightly, but her voice doesn't. This document proves how every secret, every manipulation, every hidden decision ties back to Dad's choices. And it's time he answers for it. Kody stammers, trying to speak. No, you can't. But the gavel slams. The courtroom falls silent. The stage is set for the most explosive revelation yet, and the room knows it.